In a world filled with uncertainty, one question has ignited both hope and controversy across the globe. Could Donald Trump, one of the most polarizing figures in modern politics, truly be in line for a Global Peace Prize? It's a notion that few would have predicted just a few short years ago. Yet today, amid rising tensions between Israel and Iran, whispers of diplomatic breakthroughs and international recognition swirl through the media, igniting passionate debates from Washington to Tel Aviv, from Tehran to Oslo. The very idea of Trump being considered for such an esteemed honor, a Global Peace Prize, potentially even the Nobel itself, sparks strong reactions. Supporters hail his foreign policy moves as bold steps toward peace. Critics dismiss the idea, calling it a distraction from deeper conflicts. But beneath the headlines, beyond the arguments, lies a simple truth. The world is desperate for peace. From the war-torn streets of the Middle East to tense negotiations behind closed doors, every act of diplomacy, however small, shapes the future for millions. Trump's role in the region is undeniable. His administration brokered agreements that many believed impossible, deals that some argue changed the diplomatic landscape forever. But is that enough for a peace prize? Or is this global conversation just another chapter in a much larger story, one that reflects humanity's constant struggle for stability, recognition, and hope? As we dive deeper into this complex narrative, we'll uncover the facts, explore the opinions, and ask the question the world never expected. Could Trump, love him or hate him, actually be considered a candidate for global peace recognition? And what does that reveal about the state of diplomacy in one of the world's most dangerous regions? Stay with us as we explore the layers behind the headlines and the hope behind the controversy. For decades, the Middle East has been a region defined by complexity, a land of ancient history, clashing ideologies, and relentless conflict. Nations like Israel and Iran sit at the heart of that storm. Their rivalry, steeped in politics, religion, and deep historical wounds, fuels much of the unrest that reverberates across the region and beyond. The latest flashpoints are no different. Tensions have surged. Military strikes, covert operations, and heated rhetoric dominate the headlines. Civilians live under the constant shadow of uncertainty, their futures hanging in the balance. World leaders watch closely. Allies take sides. The potential for a wider conflict looms over every decision made behind closed doors. Yet amid the chaos, another conversation quietly takes shape, one centered not on warfare, but on the slim, fragile thread of diplomacy. It's here that Donald Trump re-enters the global spotlight. During his presidency, Trump's approach to the Middle East broke with tradition. His policies, controversial as they were, brought about what some consider historic shifts. The Abraham Accords, signed in 2020, marked a significant breakthrough, formalizing diplomatic relations between Israel and several Arab nations, including the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. To some, these agreements were nothing short of ground-breaking, a bold step toward regional peace once thought impossible. To others, they were incomplete, leaving deep-rooted issues unresolved. But regardless of where one stands politically, the reality remains: diplomacy made headlines. Agreements were signed, and for a fleeting moment, the impossible seemed within reach. Now, as the Israel-Iran rivalry intensifies once more, voices emerge, suggesting that Trump's role in shaping Middle East relations might deserve greater recognition, possibly even the highest form of it, a Global Peace Prize. But is recognition deserved? Is the situation improved or merely paused before the next storm? In the coming moments, we'll journey through the facts, the arguments, and the global reactions that fuel this debate. We'll explore why this fragile moment in history matters not just for leaders and nations, but for every person yearning for peace in the world's most volatile region. Stay with us. The story is only beginning. In the annals of diplomacy, few agreements have sparked as much conversation and controversy as the Abraham Accords. Signed in 2020 under Donald Trump's administration, these accords represented the first major normalization of relations between Israel and several Arab nations in decades. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco, countries long seen as unlikely partners with Israel, suddenly sat at the negotiation table, pens in hand, signatures ready. For supporters, this was history in the making, a courageous leap toward regional cooperation, economic growth, and above all, peace. For critics, it was a carefully choreographed political performance, one that sidestepped core issues like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, leaving deep scars unhealed. But regardless of perspective, the facts remain. The Abraham Accords opened doors. Diplomatic relations were formalized, trade agreements took shape, flights began between cities that once seemed separated by more than just geography, and for the first time in a generation, conversations shifted from conflict to coexistence, from endless war to cautious hope. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't universal. The most entrenched disputes still linger unresolved. Yet, in a region starved for stability, even the smallest diplomatic victory carries weight. It's these achievements, however polarizing, that have fueled whispers of global recognition for Trump. Could his unconventional approach to diplomacy, his willingness to disrupt the status quo, actually lay the foundation for peace? Some believe it already has. Others argue the peace is fragile, temporary, a mirage in the desert. But the Nobel Peace Prize and other global honors have often been awarded not for perfection, but for progress, for daring to try where others failed. The Abraham Accords, flawed or not, represent a moment of progress, a glimmer of possibility. And as tensions reignite between Israel and Iran, as world leaders scramble for solutions, that glimmer becomes a focal point in the broader debate. Did Trump's bold Middle East gamble deserve recognition? Could it, despite criticism, be the seed of a more peaceful future? Or was it simply another chapter in the region's endless cycle of fragile alliances and broken promises? The answers lie ahead, and so does the deeper question: what truly defines peace? Stay with us as we unravel the complexities behind diplomacy, recognition, and the enduring hope for stability in one of the world's most turbulent regions. Few honors in human history carry the same weight, the same prestige, as the Nobel Peace Prize. Awarded annually, this prize stands as a symbol of humanity's highest aspiration, the pursuit of peace in a world too often torn apart by conflict. From world leaders to grassroots activists, from scientists to humanitarians, recipients of this award have shaped the narrative of hope, progress, and global cooperation. But behind the golden medallion lies a complex legacy, one marked not only by inspiration, but by controversy. Consider some of its most debated recipients. In 1973, U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger was awarded the prize for negotiating a ceasefire during the Vietnam War, even as fighting continued in Southeast Asia. In 1994, the prize went to Yasser Arafat, Shimon Peres, and Yitzhak Rabin for their efforts toward Israeli-Palestinian peace despite ongoing violence. In 2009, Barack Obama received the award just months into his presidency, a move that sparked both celebration and criticism across the globe. These moments reveal a deeper truth. The Nobel Peace Prize is as much about potential as it is about achievement. It often recognizes those who dare to disrupt, to negotiate, to imagine peace, even if the results remain incomplete. Supporters argue this approach inspires progress, encouraging leaders to continue down the path of diplomacy. Critics argue it rewards promises over proof, speeches over substance. Now, amid growing tensions in the Middle East, the conversation turns once again to possibility to whether Trump, architect of the Abraham Accords, should be considered for such recognition. His supporters point to the historical nature of those agreements, arguing they set a precedent for cooperation in a region where hostility once seemed inevitable. His critics highlight unresolved conflicts, ongoing tensions, and accuse him of using diplomacy as a political tool rather than a genuine pursuit of peace. But regardless of perspective, the Nobel Committee faces the same question it has for over a century. Should recognition be reserved for flawless peace, or is it awarded to those who simply move the needle, who change the conversation, however imperfectly? In the chapters ahead, we'll examine the current Israel-Iran landscape, global reactions to Trump's diplomatic moves, and the broader impact of this unprecedented debate. Because understanding the prize means understanding the stakes and the delicate, often messy path humanity walks toward peace. While debates about peace prizes and diplomatic legacies swirl in the media, reality on the ground paints a much darker picture. The relationship between Israel and Iran has never been simple. It's a geopolitical rivalry laced with history, ideology, and fear. Today, that rivalry teeters on the edge of open conflict. In recent months, military escalations, covert operations, and fiery rhetoric have dominated headlines. Shadow wars play out across borders, while the global community watches with bated breath. Iran's nuclear ambitions remain a central point of contention. Israel views those ambitions as an existential threat, a red line that cannot be crossed. Meanwhile, Iran accuses Israel of aggression, of covert attacks, of working alongside foreign powers to destabilize the region. Both sides stand locked in a dangerous dance, each move more provocative than the last, each decision carrying the potential to ignite a wider war. In this volatile environment, the idea of peace feels distant, almost impossible. But it's precisely in moments like these, history reminds us that unexpected diplomatic breakthroughs can occur. The Abraham Accords are one example. Negotiated not in times of calm, but amid distrust and division, they demonstrated that even the most entrenched hostilities can give way to cautious dialogue. For Trump and his supporters, that's the foundation of the current debate. If peace was possible between Israel and Arab nations once considered adversaries, could similar breakthroughs, however unlikely, emerge elsewhere? Skeptics argue the situation with Iran is fundamentally different, far more complex, deeply rooted in ideological divides that defy simple negotiations. Yet, amid the pessimism, whispers persist. Quiet channels of communication, backdoor diplomacy, and global pressure continue behind the scenes efforts to prevent the worst case scenario, a full-scale war in the Middle East. In this fragile environment, the question of Trump's Global Peace Prize candidacy becomes more than a political soundbite. It becomes a reflection of humanity's struggle, the delicate balance between conflict and cooperation, between history and hope. The stakes are high, the path uncertain, but the conversation, however controversial, forces the world to confront an enduring truth. Peace is never easy, recognition is never simple, and the future, as always, remains unwritten. As whispers of Donald Trump's potential consideration for a global peace prize echo through political circles, the world has responded predictably with division. In Washington, opinions split sharply along party lines. Supporters of the former president hail the possibility as long overdue recognition for bold diplomacy. They argue that Trump's unconventional approach broke decades of gridlock, reshaped alliances, and injected new life into Middle East peace efforts. He accomplished what others only promised, some say, pointing to the Abraham Accords as a rare, tangible achievement in a region defined by failed negotiations. For these supporters, the idea of a global peace prize, even a Nobel nomination, is more than justified. They see it as acknowledgement of results, not rhetoric. But for critics, the notion sparks outrage. They accuse Trump of inflaming tensions elsewhere, undermining global institutions, and prioritizing political theater over genuine peacemaking. Many argue that the Abraham Accords, while symbolically significant, failed to address the root causes of Middle Eastern instability, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the deepening hostility between Israel and Iran. Beyond America, reactions vary across the globe. In parts of Europe, skepticism dominates. Diplomats and analysts question whether Trump's agreements brought sustainable peace or merely temporary diplomatic headlines. In the Middle East itself, responses are even more complex. Nations involved in the Abraham Accords, like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, celebrate the agreements as milestones for regional cooperation and economic opportunity. But in countries like Iran, or among those aligned with its interests, Trump's policies are viewed with suspicion, seen as attempts to isolate Tehran and disrupt regional power balances. Yet despite the polarization, one reality remains: the world is talking. Debates unfold in think tanks, newsrooms, and living rooms alike. Social media amplifies every opinion, every theory, every hope, and every criticism. The question of Trump's place in the global peace conversation transcends politics, becoming a reflection of how divided the world remains, not only on him, but on the very idea of what peace means. Is peace measured by treaties, by reduced violence, by promises kept, or by the mere willingness to try? As this debate unfolds, the situation in the Middle East continues to evolve, and the specter of conflict looms large. But so too does the possibility, however faint, of new diplomatic breakthroughs. The eyes of the world remain fixed on the region, and as history shows, in the darkest moments, unexpected paths can still emerge. Beyond the grand speeches, beyond the political maneuvering, lies the true heart of this unfolding story, the everyday people whose lives hang in the balance. From the bustling markets of Tel Aviv to the quiet alleyways of Tehran, ordinary men, women, and children face the realities of uncertainty daily. They are the ones who hear the air raid sirens, who worry about the future of their families, who wonder if peace is truly possible or just another promise lost in political translation. It is their hopes, their fears, their quiet resilience that often go unheard in global headlines dominated by leaders and policymakers. Yet, their voices matter. In Israel, some citizens cautiously embrace the Abraham Accords, hopeful that increased regional cooperation might finally lead to a safer, more stable future. They see trade, travel, and cultural exchanges not as political gestures, but as seeds of understanding. In Iran, young activists dream of a future free from sanctions, isolation, and the ever-present fear of escalation. For them, peace is not about awards or recognition, it's about opportunity, dignity, and hope. Across the Arab world, reactions remain mixed. Some welcome normalized relations with Israel, seeing economic and security benefits. Others view the agreements with suspicion, questioning whether deeper justice and fairness have been overlooked. Amid the uncertainty, stories of courage emerge. Doctors working tirelessly in conflict zones, crossing borders to save lives, journalists risking everything to tell the truth, parents teaching their children to hope even when fear fills the air. These stories remind us that peace is not simply brokered in boardrooms or signed on paper. It is lived day by people navigating uncertainty with quiet strength. And so, as the world debates Trump's role, as nations argue over peace prizes and political legacies, these ordinary people continue their lives resilient, hopeful, yearning for a future where diplomacy wins over destruction. Their stories are the true measure of peace. Their survival, their dreams, their ability to believe in a better tomorrow, these are the achievements that no prize can fully capture, but every leader should strive to protect. The conversation about Trump's candidacy for global recognition may dominate headlines, but beneath it lies a deeper truth. Peace is personal. It is lived by the many, not decided by the few. And in that truth, the most powerful stories of all are still being written. The story is far from over. In many ways, the debate surrounding Donald Trump's potential consideration for a global peace prize is less about one man and more about the world's eternal struggle to find common ground in the face of division. The Middle East remains on edge. Israel and Iran continue their dangerous standoff. Global powers maneuver behind the scenes, each pursuing their own interests, each calculating their next move. And yet, amid the complexity, glimmers of hope persist. Diplomatic channels remain open though fragile. New generations rise, more connected, more aware, more determined to break free from the cycles of conflict that have defined their homelands for too long. The Abraham Accords, however incomplete, demonstrated that even the most improbable agreements are possible. They also reminded the world that peace is rarely perfect, rarely permanent, but always worth pursuing. The question now is not just whether Trump deserves a prize, but whether the world can build on the momentum, however controversial, of his administration's actions. Can diplomacy outlast political transitions? Can fragile agreements become lasting bridges? Can the suffering of ordinary people finally give way to a new era of stability? History teaches us that peace is a journey, not a destination. It is carved through small victories, painful compromises, and the willingness of leaders and nations to try where others have failed. The Nobel Peace Prize, or any global recognition, is ultimately symbolic, a reflection of humanity's constant, imperfect quest for a better world. Whether Trump enters that chapter of recognition remains to be seen. But the larger story, the pursuit of peace amid conflict, the courage of ordinary people, the quiet hope in the face of fear continues, with or without awards. In the days ahead, headlines will shift, new leaders will rise, and the debates will evolve. But the central question will endure: can humanity, in all its complexity, rise above division? Can peace, however fragile, find its place amid the chaos? The road ahead is uncertain, but one truth remains: the possibility for peace, however improbable, always exists. And in that possibility, the world finds its greatest hope.